Yo. So, obviously, to preface, as always, you know how it is. Some 88% milk. I can't read whatever else is in here, so I don't know what else it is. 12% of something else. But obviously, Alex Hormozi is not obsolete, and the point of this video isn't to shit talk Hormozi because obviously he's a fucking killer. Really, I just did that so you would click on the video and maybe do some rage baiting. But the point of this video really is more so to talk about, like, I think there's going to for sure be a lot of startup founders, and actually I have seen this. So that I bring this example because this was actually a client of ours, or a consultation client, and they'd done a load of stuff with email, and we asked them, like, where have you got the idea from? Blah blah. Why did you build this way? And they'd done exactly the scenario that I'm talking about here. So that's kind of what prompted me to make this video. And make an attack on Alex Hormozi. Of course, it's not an attack on Mr. Alex Hormozi, but nonetheless. So I think what a lot of people are doing, or maybe some people are doing, I don't know. But of course, there's a lot of startup founders that aren't exposed to so like the circles on the internet, and they might just be on YouTube looking through like business content. So if you're watching business content, of course, you find Alex Hormozi. Super fucking genius, very, 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 very good guy, very smart, very clever. But the cold email script that he posted in $100 million leads is not ideal. It's not excellent. I'm sure that's completely somewhat intentional, but it does mean that people are going to be using this and causing themselves big problems. So we're not going to go through it and explain like kind of why this is so bad, why this is terrible, because it's somewhat pointless. But just to quickly touch on it, of course, it's super long. It's incredibly salesy. Using case studies like this is actually a good idea. I do the same thing. Got the idea actually from Eric Novoslowski. Maybe he got it from here. I do not know. But yeah, it just gets super salesy and super pushy. We've obviously got a booking link, 1, 2, 3 links already in the email. I think there's going to be a ton of spam words. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure there will be. And I just think that the positioning is pretty generic. It's not really, there's no relevance. And of course, it's not going to be much relevance because I think this is like raw dog cold email. There's no claim, nothing of that nature. But that still doesn't mean you can't build relevant emails. So instead, I figured what we would do is think more so around if I was a startup founder, or if I had to sit down with a startup founder, like what would be the steps that we would do to build this email? Because if you watch my last video, then obviously I spoke about some templates that we launch for our email campaigns. I'd put these out into the wild, and in that video, I talk about how templates are a bad idea and you should never use templates, and templates are dog shit, and templates will cause you a lot of problems. And if people are using this template, equally, it's going to cause them a lot of problems. So what I would do if I was a startup founder, let's say I had gone in and I had built this email and I was sending it, I'm like, fuck, all of my domains are burned. Everything has gone wrong. I don't know what to do. Things have gone crazy bad, blah, 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 blah. And also I don't really see this getting too many results personally. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I would be surprised if this was absolutely ramming. And maybe the ICP of $100 million leads isn't startup founders. Truthfully, I have not a fucking clue. I have no idea. Anyway, what would I do instead? So first of all, we're not just going to start banging out copywriting. We are firstly going to outline, number 1, 3 main audiences. And the more specific we can be with audiences, the better. Three main audiences. So let's say we had, and by audience, like we're going to try and get really specific. So for example, we might say, I'm going to make bullshit up, like I cannot think of something relevant here. But let's say, for example, one audience might be e-commerce store owners that are using Shopify and using Stripe for their payment processor, selling cookware. Okay, that's one audience. And then we're going to have a different audience. So let's say, for example, our next audience, and it doesn't have to be like crazy different. Like we could, for example, have another audience where it's like, boom, okay, we just want to test like maybe someone else. Let's say these are based in USA. They could be fucking selling tablecloths. But obviously, like everything, everything you do in here has to kind of have a justification, right? So like there's no point in just there's no point in creating like really fucking brain dead, strict segmentation for absolutely no reason. Because like you have to be mindful and conscious of what you're testing. So like if it makes sense for your offer and your product that you are if it makes sense for your offer and your product that they need to be on Shopify or they need to be on Stripe payments or they need to be selling cookware or that may make sense to experiment, like these are things you should focus on. You shouldn't just do segmentation for the sake of segmentation. And we'll, if it's not obvious already, we'll explain why in a bit. Yeah, okay, cool. So that now let's assume we got cookware. Let's not go for tablecloths. Let's say they're selling like electronics, whatever. And then we have a different audience altogether. And these people are going to be physical commerce stores that physical commerce stores that do not yet have an online storefront. Sure. So now we have three audiences. When we now have our audiences, then we need to start thinking about, okay, who are the decision makers? Who are the people that we need to talk to in these companies that would make the most sense? And so many fucking clients and stuff we talk to are like, oh, we can talk to anyone, founders and the CEOs and the CMO. We take them all. Like that is fine. But obviously they're all going to have, first of all, they're going to have different fears, worries, desires, pains, dreams, everything. And also in some cases, you're fucking delusional. Like we have clients or we've had people in the past be like, yo, we want to talk to founders of 5,000 employee companies. So that's cool. But like you're a startup or a SaaS with nothing and you want to email founders of 5,000 employee Fortune 500 companies. Cool, good idea. Who also do not give a fuck about your SaaS product. So you need to obviously think about as well, like who actually cares, who's actually going to use your product, right? So this is where we start needing to get into figuring out like your ICP and the headcounts you talk to and kind of what impact that has on the titles you talk to, so on and so forth. And this all can be tested. Like, of course, if you're pre-product market fit, pre-message market fit, obviously you don't know this yet. You might have some assumptions, but you don't know it just yet. So that is completely fine, and you can test these. But for the example's sake, let's assume, okay, banger, for our first round of iteration, like let's assume we've never done cold email, we've never done any sales, like we've never actually done any go-to-market stuff. We are now just testing with cold email. So let's assume decision makers we would like to talk to. Let's keep it very simple. Let's go ahead and just make these all 50 to 200 employees. 10 to 200 employees. Like generally that range, the things people care about will be more or less the same. More or less. Obviously, there are edge cases and outliers. Decision makers. So for this offer, it will be founder. I don't know what the offer is, by the way. I'm planning just to make something up on the spot when I get to that point. But decision makers will be founder, let's say CMO, head of, let's say founder, CTO, head of product. That will do. Okay, so now we have some decision makers. Boom. And then for each of these, we're now going to map out like what are the things that each one cares about. And in some offers, in some cases, like it is the same thing. It doesn't, it's completely fine if it is the same thing. Like if the founder and the CTO care about the same outcome or have the same pain, like that's cool. Just write the same thing twice. Of course, if they're all different, that is also fine. You just need to be diligent and make sure you're putting all the stuff down. So I'm not going to bother writing because, as you know, I would just be making things up. So we can just pretend that I had written stuff down. So now we know, decision makers, we know exactly, okay, cool. Founder cares about this. CTO cares about this. Owner, okay, let me do this differently. Let's say founder and CTO care about the same thing. Obviously, owner does. Head of product cares about something different, right? Cool. So now we are beginning to understand some of our email campaigns, some of our copy. So we haven't written anything yet. We haven't thought about this. We haven't thought about structure. All we're doing is just planning right now. So now we have our three main audiences. We have our decision makers. That is fire. Now we need to start thinking about, cool, okay. Let's call this triggers. Triggers or intent signals. 12. Triggers or intent signals. So triggers and intent signals. So really like this just means what can we observe about a company, or what can we watch about a company, what can we look out for about a company or a person within a company that might identify that they are struggling with a problem that you have a solution to. There are cases where it's like blatantly obvious, like, wow, they really need it based on this event occurring, or some that are more just like maybe it might guide you towards the idea that they might need this thing, right? But these are going to be really important. For example, we could say, like, typically they might be hiring for a position. They might have lost, or they might have no employees for a certain position. Like, for example, if you were doing warehouse management software and you were talking to a company with a warehouse without a warehouse manager, that might be a very good indication that their warehouse management is really bad. So then you could use that as kind of a trigger event or intent signal, whatever you want to call it. So just go through and try to figure out exactly what your triggers or intent signals are. Might be like website technology they're using, as we said above, like with the using Stripe, Shopify, combination of those two would be something for us in this particular case here. But really, like, there's not any hard and fast rules other than the fact that it should be publicly identifiable, right? So this could even be like a news event. It could be fucking anything, right? Anything that makes sense where it's like, okay, I have seen that they are struggling, or they have this thing happen or thing happening, or they have this characteristic, that must mean they might be struggling with this problem, right? So go down, map out all of the different triggers and intent signals for your offer. Boom. Okay, so now we have three main audiences. We have some decision makers, we have triggers or intent signals, and we still haven't written any copy just yet. So let me just think about this. My brain's pretty fucking slow today, so Pretty ideal in a video called Move Over Hormozi, You Are Obsolete. Yeah. So next we will go ahead and what do we do next? What should we do? We have 3 audiences. We have decision makers, we have triggers or intent signals. Is there anything else we need to start planning? I guess we could go a level deeper on the triggers and intent signals and then think like, okay, it's probably just a sub point, to be honest, on this. And we just want to say like, which ones are publicly identifiable, which ones are most reliable, which ones are most findable, most commonly findable. That is to say, cut the shit. So then we've got like ideally just one, but maybe 1 or 2 different triggers or intent signals. And not every offer, to be honest, will really have this. Most will, but there are definitely times where like this might not exist in general. So now we have all those things. Cool. Now we can start thinking about writing some copy and planning campaigns, right? So what I would probably suggest at this point is just planning out your campaign, just to kind of make sure before you start writing, before you start doing anything, like, first of all, you fully understand who you're talking to, what you're talking about, what you're propositioning. And secondly, I can't remember the second reason, but it doesn't really matter. Cool. So main audiences will be, let's say we go for this one, we're going to build this campaign. So we're going to do e-com store owners using Shopify and Stripe. So, okay, so we're going to go technologies, Shopify, and Stripe. We're going to say niche industry, e-commerce, stores, and then we're going to say cookware, e-commerce stores, and we are going to say, is that everything? Location, USA, and employees, I think we said 10 to 200. Boom. So what I would generally recommend doing here is, like, before you start again mapping everything out, just have like a very quick look and see, have a very quick look for your TAM online and kind of see what makes sense. Of course, like the obvious place would be Apollo. Apollo isn't very good for e-com, it's not as good. So yeah, I don't know. You can figure that out. If I was doing e-com, I would use store leads. But yeah, you probably have Apollo. You can just do a free account, fuck around with the filters and see what you come up with. You just want to get a real top level overview of the TAM. Obviously, if you're sending emails and like you've created something here that has 800 companies, like, it's probably not really worth doing. I mean, 800 is probably maybe okay, maybe. But even still, like, you just want to be careful that you're not targeting like crazy niche segments that will be unrepeatable and untestable against. So that's fine. Now we have this. Now we are going to do decision makers. Cool. So we said founder, CTO, founder, CTO, and owner. Founder, CTO, and owner. Or so they care about thing 1 and worried about thing 2. And And then we said that head of product cares about thing 2 and is worried about thing 3. So obviously what we're going to do in the campaigns is now we're going to do 2 separate campaigns, right? These have to be 2 separate campaigns. So now, of course, we're going to do job titles, founder, CTO, owner. Messaging will be thing 1 and thing 2. We'll do 3 and 4. Thing 1 and thing 2. Boom. So that now makes 1 campaign. And then we, of course, would have the other campaign to test against, which would be job title would be head of product, who care about thing 3 and thing 4. So now we have like 2 actually pretty sensible test segments, test sets, right? And we've already kind of done a ton of. We've saved ourselves a ton of time by going in and creating something in this format. Because like these are very sensible tests. Like now, when you're writing your copy, it will be very, very easy to make sure that you know what you're testing, right? Because we're testing the thing 1 and the thing 2 and the thing 3 and the thing 4, which is what we have assumed that these titles care about based on what we said earlier. The reason that we do this is, say, for example, we got lazy and we had a head of product in this campaign. Like A is going to skew the numbers because we believe that they're interested in something else, and B, we can't really test that. We won't then have any data to kind of validate that claim or validate that theory. So that would not be very good. Cool. So now we have these. I mean, I'm not going to go through and fucking build out a load of fake audiences because it's literally pointless. It'll be a waste of your time. It'll be a waste of my time. So now we have our two audiences. Of course, like you can go as fucking deep on this as you want. You can make hundreds, as long as you have the leads to support it. And like anything, you're doing it intentionally. Like I think it's really important. You're testing. You're making some very sensible tests that you believe in and you're willing to commit to and willing to give the right amount of time. And you're not going to panic and sort of start crying and worrying, whatever it might be. Cool. So now you have this. Now you can begin writing your copy. One thing I would urge and one thing I would think about, again, something I went pretty hard on in my last video, is not going in and just writing the copy out of nowhere with zero kind of thought process behind it. And of course, that we have done a bit of planning here, so on and so forth. But I think it's really worth you going as deep as you possibly can, or at least as deep as is reasonable on like these 2 assumptions here. So we said that head of product cares about thing 3 and thing 4, and the founders, CTOs, and owners care about thing 1 and thing 2. Like what would make sense is if we went in and really thought about, okay, they care about these things for these different potential reasons. So let's say, for example, founder, CTOs, and owners care about thing 1 and thing 2 because it might be like helps them to make more money, avoids them losing staff. If they fail thing 1 and thing 2, the company will fail safety checks. Whatever it might be, I just go really deep on all these things. And again, like we did above, then you're just going to choose maybe 2, 3 of these, and that will become some A/B tests in the campaigns, right? We're going to do the exact same thing with 3 and 4. I'm not going to rewrite everything, but let's just assume we say head or product cares about thing 3 and thing 4 because presumably it would be different things. I'm too lazy to write these out. You can just imagine that these are different. Cool. So then what we're going to have is, let's assume we found out 3 things from each segment that they care about, and like reasons that they would worry about those things, or reasons that they'd be interested in those things for their business. So then we're going to have then 2 campaigns. I'm just going to call this Super Campaign Mega A, and we're going to call this Founder, CTO, Owner. I'm going to call this Super Campaign Mega B, Head of Product. Fuck. Head of Product. So we're going to take this, boom, this, boom. So now we have our 2 campaigns in Smart Lead or Instantly or whatever the fuck you use for sending. Hopefully not HubSpot or Apollo. If you are using HubSpot and Apollo, well, not a lot I can say to you people. Cool. So now you have your Mega A and your Mega B. And within this, we're going to have obviously different A/B tests. We're going to have A, B, and C. We're going to have A, B, and C. And A, B, and C are going to be these tests here that we outlined, because then what we're able to do is we're able to think, okay, now we have tested, like, see how powerful this is. We've now tested with our company, we've now tested with our offer against this really super specific kind of company. They're cookware e-commerce stores using Shopify and Stripe, 100, 200, blah, 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 where we think that the CEOs and the founders care about thing 3 and thing 4 for this reason, right? And now we're going to test, do they care about it for this reason? Do they care this reason, this reason? Same for head of product. Do they care this? They care this? They care this? These are fucking crazy insights for your business. And like one of the most powerful things I think about cold email. And really, like, one of the main things that I think people forget about is, like, let's say you're a startup testing for product market fit or message market fit, right? And you wanted to talk to every company in your town. Let's say you had a town of 1 million, right? You had a town of 1 million and you wanted to talk to every company and find out insights like today. With cold email, like, that is possible. You can definitely do that. Of course, you need a crazy amount of infrastructure, and it would be a fucking pain to do so. But it is doable. And I don't know any other method of information gathering that is that powerful. So if you're not using cold email for testing, like, I would highly recommend you start. Anyway. So, where were we? How long are we in? 28 minutes. Holy fuck. So, okay. Now we have our 2 campaigns, and we have some sensible testing. I'm not going to go in here and write copy, because, like, it would be a waste of everyone's time, because I have no idea what I'm selling here. Like I said, I made all this up on the spot. The point really of this video was just to kind of move people away from, if they were, I'm assuming, well, like I said, I know that one startup founder was using this and just kind of filling in the blanks, hoping for the best. And, you know, once we changed things around, we saw some really significant changes in the performance. So I thought it was worth a video. But cool. And for what it's worth, this is exactly the process that we worked on together to kind of figure this out and find some good test segments. Cool. So then when we're writing the copy, like, generally my process will be find some templates. This would be for a beginner. Find some templates you like and are good. Of course, you're not going to copy these templates, and you might not know what templates are good. Generally, like, Nick Abraham posts a lot of really good ones actually on LinkedIn. Eric has some good content. Josh Braun also has some very good stuff. But yeah, you're going to find some templates for inspiration. Of course, like, you don't have to do this. Generally, fucking hell. Thought my drink. Generally, we want to keep it conversational, non-salesy, different. This one's really important. The more different we can make it, the better. I once had an email for my own stuff, but anyway, where like in my follow-up, I was talking about James Bond. What was I talking about? It was like James Bond, Cannes Film Festival, and Harry Potter or some bullshit. Like super fucking stupid follow-up. Obviously, it wasn't just random. There was some context to it, and they kind of made like it made sense, and it was somewhat humorous. But it performed really well, and like I think a lot of businesses would be like, "Oh, we can't send this to we're corporate, blah blah blah." But I mean, you can really, you can be different. You can say some different stuff. Excuse me. Everyone is a human at the end of the day. Cool. But yeah, conversational, non-salesy, and different. And also, of course, easily understandable. Super important. Blah, blah, blah. We're just going to use these templates for inspiration. And then, what else are we going to do? We're just going to write like a fucking madman, okay? And I cannot emphasize this more. That was maybe a bit too big. Write like a fucking madman. Maybe this could be a good thumbnail. Hang on. Fuck. This is a good thumbnail, right? I'm sure there's an easier way to do thumbnails than this. But I'm not a YouTuber. Not yet, anyway. Anyway, so you're going to write like a madman. And what I mean by that is like not getting bogged down thinking that, crying about, oh, fucking this isn't going to work, or this is going to be shit, or like this sounds horrible. Like, who gives a fuck? Just keep writing cold emails again. Even if you have to do like 100, 200, 300 iterations, just keep writing and do not get blocked up in trying, like, overthinking. Then what you will do is you'll go back and you'll read through them and like there'll be some really good insights, there'll be some really good lines, there'll be some really cool stuff, there'll be some really conversational bits, and then all you're going to do is just turn that into a master email, which is basically where you're going to go through, pick the bits that you like, and then write one final polished version that you like for each of these A/B tests. Of course, make sure that when you're doing A/B tests, you're only changing one thing. So for example, I'm going to write a really generic email. Hey, Jack, question, problem, solution, call to action, cheers, Jack. Right. So let's say we're following this kind of structure. And then in like email A, I'm changing the question, the solution, the call to action. Like we don't then know what performed and what didn't, right? So we just want to make sure that we're only changing things that are relevant. So really, like, I would never change this, or at least I wouldn't focus on that. Definitely you can change the question, test that. That's kind of the positioning. Sometimes you have to change the question, you've got to change the problem and solution, like that's fine. But as long as you kind of know what you're testing and you're very scientific, let's say, about what you're testing. So like you're very confident to say, basically, when I look at the results, if A has performed the best, I know exactly why. Like I'm very confident in what that is. So on and so forth. That's really the feeling that you're trying to get. Then you're going to blast these into the market. So we're going to send probably like 500 to 1,000 emails per angle. So what's that going to be? 1 to 6,000. So that's 3 to 6,000, 3,000 to 6,000 leads. And then we are just going to wait. After everything, we will analyze the data. So let's say, for example, A, I'm only going to do the first three, A, B, C. A has, what do we say, 1,000 sent, 8 positive replies. B has 1,000 sent, 3 positive replies. C has 3,000 sent. 6 positive replies. Let's put 27 replies. Let's put 300 replies. Let's put, I don't know, 10 replies. Doesn't really matter. So again, something I often see people care about is the reply numbers. Like, no one gives a fuck. We only care about positive replies. A positive reply would be like, can you send more information? Can I book a call? You know, obviously you're not stupid. Anything indicating a level of interest in the offer would be positive. That's why it's super important in your inbox that you're marking things as positive, because otherwise you don't know. And we see it so many times where companies are like, hey, like what's going on with the email campaigns? You know, can you help us to improve them? Sure. Let's have a look at the data. And they haven't marked anything. And it's like, well, I have no words. We cannot help, of course, if you do not mark things, because we don't know what's working and what isn't. So make sure you mark your data. And then here, like really, we're just looking at the ratios, like how many emails per positive replies. How many emails do we need to send to get one positive reply? And this is like unique leads, right? This isn't including follow-ups. So on A, I don't really do maths. 80 per 1,000. I don't know, whatever that is. But as long as it's under, I don't know if you can see my screen right now, 375 and under is a good benchmark to aim for. Again, to be honest, I got this idea from both Eric and Nick. It isn't my number, it's not my theory, but it's definitely one that I apply and I agree with. So really, like in a very general sense, there are rules, exceptions to the rule. But we're aiming to get 375 and under. It's like generally means like we're okay, like we're doing fine. Like we've had emails that are like every 20 we send, we get a positive reply. We've had some that are like 2,500 and sometimes more. Some just don't work. But 375 and under is generally like pretty good benchmark. After that time, then like either two situations. Situation one, we will have a good message. And now we know that X person cares about X thing. Or we don't have any results and we need to go back to the drawing board and do some more testing. Okay, so really like why this is good is because like once you know one, or even like once you know two, then you're not going to start blasting money on like ad campaigns and like changing bullshit web copy and like dumb shit like this. Like going after markets and appealing to markets that actually don't care about what you're selling. Like now you kind of know, you have good information and like tangible information as to who actually cares about what you're selling. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed the video. In the very unlikely event that Mr. Alex Hormozi watches this, I apologize for using your name in the title for clickbait purposes. But Godspeed and cool haircut. Peace out.